In this video, I'll go over a question about finding the domain of radical functions and to see why these answers here are not correct. The first question here is about the function f of x equal the square root of 16x minus 16. Now we are looking for the domain of this radical function. Again, the domain is how far you can move along your x-axis, right? If you draw the x and the y, now the domain is how far are you allowed to go on the x-axis that makes the function to be defined. Now this is a radical function. So this function is defined as long as the value inside the radical, the square root, is either 0 or bigger than 0. Okay, so we have the expression inside the square root to be 16x minus 16, and now you want this expression to be at least 0 or higher because the square root of negative number is undefined. So we want 16x minus 16 to be bigger than 0 or equal to 0. And then now you can solve for x. And if I solve for x here, I move the 16, I add 16 on both sides, then I get what? I get 16x bigger than or equal to 16, and I divide 16 on both sides, then I will get x to be bigger than or equal to 1. And therefore, if you write the domain in the interval notation, you have to write it as 1, and then 1 is the left lower bound, and then we go all the way to infinity to the right side. And because we also include the endpoint of 1, so you want to include the bracket, okay, the close bracket. So this answer is correct. However, for the domain written as an inequality, we have to write this way. Okay, so in this case, the student is missing the letter x, so it should be x bigger than or equal to 1. That is the correct answer. This is the correct answer, but the format is not correct. So you want to write x to be bigger than or equal to 1. Okay, let's see what's the next question that we have here. The next question that we have here is the function g. This is the second question. The function g we have here is 13 the square root of minus 13x minus 12. Again, this is the radical equation, and when you solve for the domain is how far you can go on the x-axis that makes your function to be defined. And this is the radical function. So the radical function is defined as long as the value inside the square root here is equal to 0 or bigger than 0. You don't want anything to be negative inside here. 0 or bigger than 0 is okay. Therefore, we require the expression inside here minus 13x minus 12 to be bigger than or equal to 0. That is the requirement. And to solve for x, we are adding 12 on both sides. So that will give me minus 13x bigger than or equal to 12. Now you are solving for x, so you want to get rid of the minus 13. So we divide by minus 13 on both sides. Now there's an important rule here. When you divide or multiply by a negative number, we are switching the direction of the inequality. So x, this is bigger than or equal, now it's less than or equal to negative 12 over 13. So that is the very important rule. If you multiply or divide by a negative value on both sides, you have to switch the direction, reverse the direction of the inequality. And therefore, the answer here is not correct. So you want anything less than or equal to minus 12 over 13. So minus 12 over 13 is your highest value, the right bound, and then the left one is you want all the way to the left side. So it could go from negative infinity all the way to the left side, right? Anything to the left side of minus 12 over 13, which is the max value. And this is also including the equal sign, so make sure you have the close bracket here. So these are the two answers. This one is for the inequality notation, and this one is for the interval notation. And that is the answer that you should see here. Right? Minus infinity go up to minus 12 over 13, and then x is less than or equal to minus 12 over 13 is your inequality notation. The next question is, again, we are given the function f of x equal 11 plus the square root of 19x plus 6. Again, this is a radical equation, and to find the domain of this equation, we are looking for all the value on the x-axis, or all the value of x that make the function to be defined. Now, this function f of x is defined as long as the value inside the square root is equal to 0 or higher than or bigger than 0. Again, so you want anything inside the square root to be bigger than 0 or equal to 0. You don't want this thing to be negative. Negative will make your function to be undefined, which is the thing that you don't want to. Okay, so anything inside here, you make it bigger than or equal to 0. That is the requirement. And then now to solve for x, you minus 6 on both sides. So you get 19x is bigger than or equal to negative 6. Now to solve for x, I divide by 19 on both sides. Because I am dividing by a positive value, I do not switching or reversing the direction of the inequality. And therefore, I'm just getting x to be bigger than or equal to minus 6 over 19. So x are all the values that are bigger than or equal to this value. Right, so this is the smallest value, minus 6 over 19, the smallest value on the left lower bound, and then you want to go all the way to the right, bigger than this number. So it could be anything as long as it is bigger than this value. So that is the infinity to the right side. Again, infinity is an undefined value, so we never use the closed brackets because we do not include the endpoint of the infinity number. So this is your notation, interval notation, and this one here is your inequality notation. And we can check the answers right away here. Negative 6 over 19, comma infinity, positive infinity, and then x is bigger than or equal to negative 6 over 19 is your inequality notation. Make sure you have to include the x here. Type x bigger than or equal to negative 6 over 19. Now I think you can do that using x, right? And then type bigger than or equal to negative 6 over 19, and that should give you the answer similar to this one right here. So don't forget the x here. Okay, the last question that we have here is the function p of x equal to square root of minus 3 plus 18x. Again, you want this thing here to be bigger than or equal to 0 to make your function to be defined. And then you can solve for x by adding 3 on both sides. You get 18x bigger than or equal to 3, and then you are dividing by 18 on both sides. Then you get x bigger than or equal to 3 over 18. And then you can simplify this further. You can divide by 3 on the top, divide by 3 at the bottom. Then x is bigger than or equal to 1 over 6. So this is your inequality notation. And then because x are all the value bigger than minus 1 over 6. So 1 over 6 is the smallest value. And then we go all the way to the right for the rest of the number. And that should be your answer. Okay, so make sure that we type the letter x together with the bigger than or equal sign. This is missing the the x value, and this one for 1 over 6, this is not a correct notation. It should be the close bracket, because we do have the equal sign. So if there is an equal sign, we have to use the close bracket, not the parenthesis. This is not correct.